Your position has been eliminated. Adrienne's voice cut across the boardroom like a verdict already signed. Stella Hart didn't move. Behind her, the quarterly recovery charts still glowed on the screen, numbers she'd rebuilt from a dying division nobody else believed in. Adrienne, newly seated at the head of the table, didn't even glance at the data. He slid a folder forward labeled Organizational Restructure, as if it could erase years of work. Effective immediately, he added. A few executives gasped. Someone's pen hit the floor. No one said a word. Then Stella laughed, quiet, steady, the kind of sound that made the whole room tighten. Adrienne's jaw flexed. Clear your office by end of day. She looked at him the way you'd study a mistake someone doesn't know they've made yet. She didn't argue, didn't plead, because what she was thinking wasn't in this room yet. It was already in motion, and Adrienne had no idea what he'd just set off. Minutes later, the boardroom emptied, but the silence followed her down the glass corridor. In her office, she didn't pack. She just stood still, watching employees pass by the reflection in her window, each one suddenly very interested in anything but her. The door clicked shut without warning. Adrienne walked in without knocking. This is a clean transition, he said, loosening his cuffs like he was settling into a role he'd rehearsed. You've been controlling operations too tightly. Stella didn't react. Who advised you to use that exact termination clause? A flicker crossed his face. Then he scoffed. Legal counsel. Hired him last week. That landed differently than he intended. Her eyes shifted just enough to register the name, a firm known for dismantling companies from the inside. She turned back to her laptop and started a quiet file transfer, fingers steady. Security will escort you out if you're still here after 5, he said, pausing at the door. Don't make this harder than it has to be. The room went quiet again. Then her screen lit up, claws activated. It stayed there longer than it should have. A second line appeared underneath. Standby protocol initiated. Outside her office, the hallway shifted almost instantly. Footsteps slowed. Conversations dropped mid-sentence. A chair scraped back too fast, the sound echoing like a warning. Stella didn't touch her keyboard again. She just watched the system she'd helped build start responding on its own. A soft knock. Controlled. Procedural. Not Adrienne this time. HR. 2 compliance officers walked in with documents already printed. Stella Hart, one said, avoiding her eyes. We've been instructed to begin transition enforcement. Access revocation starts in 15 minutes. By whose authorization? A pause. President Hart. A faint exhale escaped her, not surprise, more like confirmation of something she'd already calculated. Before they could continue, her laptop pinged again. File transfer complete. Not one file. Several routed straight into the board compliance archive she'd quietly built years earlier under internal resilience protocols. One officer's tablet buzzed. Wait, he muttered, reading. This routing signature, it's tied to Mercer and Vale Consulting. The name sharpened the room instantly. Stella spoke first. He hired them last week. HR exchanged a look. That firm had been blacklisted after 2 prior acquisition scandals. As if summoned by the timing, Adrienne's voice came through the office speaker, calm and almost satisfied. You should have left when I told you to. Stella tilted her head toward the ceiling speaker. You didn't remove me, she said quietly. You just handed your decision to a system you don't understand. A beat of silence. Then colder. Security will escort you out immediately. The door lock clicked again, but this time it didn't open for anyone. The access panel flashed red. Access levels frozen. Every screen in the building flickered at once. The whole company felt the shift before the email even finished loading. Emergency leadership update. Adrienne Hart confirmed as president. Immediate organizational restructuring in effect. Phones lit up across every department like synchronized alarms. In accounting, someone whispered that it hadn't gone through the board. In engineering, chairs pushed back in unison. On the executive floor, Stella walked through all of it without stopping. No rush, no reaction. Just measured steps past glass walls where people looked away the second she turned her head. Behind her, whispers moved faster than the official announcement. That wasn't voted on. She didn't approve it. Is this even legal? A senior board member caught her near the elevators. Stella, wait. His voice dropped. He bypassed quorum. There was no formal vote. Half the board wasn't even notified. She turned slightly. Did anyone challenge it in writing? He hesitated. That hesitation said everything. Upstairs, Adrienne appeared on a live internal video call from the conference room, cameras catching his confident posture, but not the stack of papers being rushed off frame. We are streamlining leadership, he said. Decisive action is necessary. Someone in legal quietly muted their mic and typed. These approvals don't match governance requirements. Downstairs, Stella stopped at a workstation and plugged in a single drive. No explanation, no announcement, just an upload. Seconds later, every department got the same automated ping. Compliance review initiated. Governance override trigger file detected. Beneath it, a new line appeared on every screen in the building. Countdown to structural audit, 9:59. And the timer kept running. Nobody spoke, because everyone realized the same thing at once. This wasn't just a firing anymore. The system itself had started questioning it. The countdown hit 8:12 when the first systems started failing, not crashing, locking. In the middle of a senior financial briefing, Adrienne reached for the dashboard and froze. Why is my access restricted? He snapped. The screen didn't answer. It just replaced his credentials with one line. Access under governance review. The same message spread across the building. Department heads lost permissions mid-task. Reports stopped updating. Transfers paused mid-process. Panic didn't hit all at once. It spread in pieces. In legal, someone stood up too fast. This is a full compliance lockout. In operations, a supervisor muttered, "We've been overridden." In the executive suite, Adrienne stared at his own screen like it had betrayed him. That's impossible, he said. I authorized this restructuring. Why am I locked out? Downstairs, security tried to stop Stella, but her badge still worked. She walked past them into a restricted terminal room and placed her hand on the biometric scanner. Access granted. A quiet confirmation tone rang out inside the system logs. One line expanded in red. Trigger event confirmed. Unilateral executive removal detected. Legal erupted moments later. An automated alert had already escalated to external governance channels. Potential breach of shareholder protection agreement. Adrienne's legal consultant showed up in person, too late, arguing in the hallway to no one who mattered anymore. The system had already moved past human approval. Upstairs, Adrienne tried to override the lock manually. Denied. 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 Then the conference room doors opened on their own, and two external auditors walked in without a greeting. Adrienne's expression changed for the first time. He recognized them. This wasn't internal anymore. It was official. The moment the auditors entered, the room shifted from panic to procedure. One set a sealed dossier on the table without sitting. Adrienne Hart, he said evenly. This is now a formal governance review under shareholder protection protocol. Adrienne blinked. That's not possible. I authorized. You authorized a termination without board quorum. The auditor cut in, opening the first page. Under Clause 18B of your company's trust structure, That action triggers immediate executive suspension. Outside, through the glass walls, employees gathered to watch their leadership quietly collapse into paperwork. Stella walked in last, not rushed, not triumphant, just present. Adrienne looked at her like he was trying to reconcile two different versions of reality. "You did this." "No," she said quietly. "You signed it into motion yourself." The auditor slid a document across the table. Proof of the original governance design, the shareholder trust structure. Her name was in it, not as an employee, but as co-controlling shareholder with activation authority in cases of unilateral executive misuse. Adrienne's face tightened as it landed. "This was never just my decision," he said under his breath. She didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice was calm. "It was always built to stop anyone from doing exactly what you just did." The board moved fast after that. Formal suspension, executive authority revoked pending investigation. Every one of Adrienne's approvals frozen for review. His legal consultant was walked out mid-sentence, still arguing to the air. Within the hour, the system stabilized. But the hierarchy never went back to what it was. Stella was reinstated officially, but when the board offered her full executive restoration, she didn't take it the way they expected. Instead, she called a restructuring vote that dissolved the single president model entirely. "No one seat should carry unchecked control," she said simply. Adrienne was walked out through the same lobby where he'd announced her firing that morning. No confrontation, no final speech, just the sound of doors closing behind him while employees went back to work without looking up. Hours later, the building finally went quiet. Stella stood alone in the executive office, the same tables still catching the city lights outside. The seat across from hers sat empty now, in a different way than before. She looked at it once, then turned and walked out, leaving it behind. Next time someone sat in that seat, they'd know exactly what it cost before they did.